So I think you talk about that a lot, which is about the risks that these algorithms really provide, and therefore how do you mitigate them? So there are no written laws today. So how do you think this would evolve? Because I think the way I see it is this has not been done in the past, right? Like what you write about in one of your blogs, you talk about how electricity changed manufacturing, internet changed knowledge work, right? And
Right.
now AI is changing a whole host of professions, a whole host of industries. And that is going to really need a whole set of rules. That's, I think, something that you talk about in terms of transparency, in terms of risk mitigation. How does one start? And in your opinion, is there some kind of a set of frameworks that people need to look at?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've written about the fact that this issue tends to be one that is being addressed differently in different parts of the world,
Mm.
right? In the US, not surprisingly, the culture is, let a thousand flowers bloom, and we'll deal with these problems, as and when they arise, right? Let the market decide what's best, and let's
Mm.
not interfere, right?
Mm.
So that's like on the one extreme.
Mm.
On the other extreme, you have China, which is observing everything. They own all the data. They have the right to do anything
Yeah.
with it, right? So that's like a totalitarian or rather an authoritarian kind of a model.
Yeah.
And then you have Europe, which is sort of concerned about risks of data misuse, with the whole GDPR regulation coming in. Um, and those kinds of concerns. And then India's got sort of another interesting kind of model, with the emergence of, biometric identification. And now traveling in India has become, electronics are everywhere, right? It's
Yeah.
just, right? And in the sense, it's become easy, right? That,
Yeah. Correct.
you can, right? You can use these IDs, and a lot of things become easier.
Mm.
So it makes life easier in many ways for lots of people, like having an identifier where you can authenticate yourself, which, by the way, doesn't exist in most other parts of the world,
Mm.
strangely enough, right? I mean, in the US, you can't actually
Mm.
prove who you are,
Yeah.
just through an identity like you can in India.
Yeah.
Um, but there are concerns in India that the institutions maybe are not strong enough to resist government overreach of data, and things like that. So there are those kinds of concerns in India around privacy and misuse of these
Absolutely.
kinds of systems. So there isn't any one answer. It's almost like it's being dealt at in different parts of the world differently.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I guess it'll just continue to
Evolve.
evolve, or I was going to say stumble along like that, right? You get things that, mishaps that happen, things don't work.
Yeah.
In the US, we'll see lawsuits. We're already seeing that,
Yeah.
around, Section 230 and platform liability. But we'll probably see more of those as the technology comes along, right? So the US sort of deals with it on a, ongoing basis, with very light touch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, remains to be seen how other parts of the world will deal with it.